The video starts with quirky Martha sitting alone in her apartment. Her lover is passionately kissing another lady when he abruptly arrives. He refuses to apologize and asks Martha to make a trio. Mr. Wright Aka, Francis, an ex-CIA agent and mercenary, can murder even the most deadly villains. Martha refuses and breaks up with him immediately, but her lover calls her out for not being adventurous, which infuriates Martha. Inside the hotel, a squad of assassins directed by Hopper, a former CIA hitman, prepares to capture him. However, Hopper stays in the surveillance van since he believes Francis will defeat the incompetent assassins. After Francis kills the assassins one by one without breaking a sweat, Hopper gets a call from his boss, telling him to pretend to be an FBI agent and work with local police detective Gus Patrick to capture Francis. Martha and her roommate Sophie go out drinking, but Martha keeps looking for her boyfriend and blames herself for him cheating on her. The next morning, Sophie takes Martha to her workplace. Are you enjoying this video? Click that sexy subscribe button. A pet store, where Martha picks up a cat despite warnings that it is ferocious and scratches Sophie. Martha makes a stop at a convenience store on her way home. Francis also happens to be there buying some supplies. All of a sudden, Martha clumsily bumps into a shelf and scatters a pile of contraception. But surprisingly, Francis, with his extraordinary skills, catches them. Quickly witnessing this, Martha becomes awestruck and falls in love at first sight. They chat for a while, and Francis also likes her quirkiness. He then invites her on a date, and the two end up spending some romantic time together in the next scene. When Francis talks about his line of work, honestly, Martha takes it as sarcasm. She thinks that a job like this only exists in the movies. After a while, as the two are strolling around a park, Francis suddenly realizes that a hitman is nearby. His intuition turns out to be right. When we see a man pointing a sniper towards Francis, thankfully our hero swiftly dances with Martha and dodges all the bullets one by one. He doesn't even realize that they're being attacked. After the encounter, the couple ends up spending the night together at Martha's place. The next morning, Francis leaves a note for her asking her to continue their date that evening. This impresses Martha, and she makes breakfast happily. However, Sophie is a bit skeptical about this mystery boyfriend. That night, Francis and Martha meet at a bar. There, he meets Espinosa, one of the hitmen who left the hotel earlier. He then excuses himself and pursues Espinosa outside. Once they are outside the bar, Francis tells the hitman that he doesn't have a plan on killing anyone today. But Espinosa is relentless, so he readies his dagger to attack Francis. As always, Francis dodges all the attacks with his swift reflexes. Then, at an opportune moment, he kills the hitman by piercing his throat with the same dagger. In the meantime, he splits the brothers in half. Francis is hired by Vaughn and Richie Cardigan to kill a victim. Vaughn, the younger sibling, is ambitious yet unintelligent and wants Richie gone. Vaughn recruits Francis to replace Richie as the local criminal empire's head. At home, Martha says she does not even know Francis' entire name after dating him for a few days, to which the ex-mercenary answers, "I despise my own name, so I do not share it with anyone." Francis, the favorite hitman, has killed his clients. Francis shows Martha his knife skills to capture the birth control pills from the convenience store. Francis takes Martha to the first hitman job meeting to delight her by pretending to be a professional assassin. Are you enjoying this video? Click that sexy subscribe button. Martha witnesses Francis meet a guy on the bridge who begs him to murder people while waiting in the vehicle. Francis dons his clown nose and calmly kills the victim. After Francis sends Martha off to her apartment, Hopper and Gus, acting as FBI agents, question her. They tell her Francis is a conscience-driven hitman who murders his clients because he feels killing is immoral unless the victim merits it. Meanwhile, Francis visits Martha at her apartment. Hopper has been tracking him, so he is ready for him. But Francis tackles him from behind and pulls him inside, informing the girls that Hopper is not an FBI agent. Martha joins Francis in the bedroom after realizing Francis has always been honest with her. Unfortunately, their passionate hug is cut short when one of Hopper's men declares over the radio that they are coming for Francis, scaring our hero and causing him to run. Francis is assaulted by a squad of assassins while attempting to get Martha out of the house. Steve, a mercenary, amazes Francis with his combat skills. Francis seizes the baseball bat and knocks the assassin out. Francis jumps through the steps and incapacitates the other assassins, then pauses to recall Martha's pledge to never murder again. Francis bravely rescues Martha by deflecting the bullet with his hand, but he is injured and does not murder Steve, which is rare for a hitman. Steve praises Francis sincerely, claiming he would not come in their way again. Francis and Martha then make their way outside, but are still surrounded by a larger number of assassins coming through. Vaughn and his men also arrive at the scene looking for Francis. The couple is attacked again, so they shelter themselves near a water tank to save themselves. Francis is forced to open fire and kill one of the assassins. He then plays a psychological trick on them, telling them that they will not be able to return to their wives and kids if they die. Francis and Martha also come out in the open and are attacked by Vaughn. But Vaughn surrenders when he realizes he has no chance against a hitman like Francis and praises his fighting skills and determination, which turns out to be a trick to distract Francis. The crafty Steve appears and hits Francis from behind, knocking him down. Steve works for Vaughn and his guys, and he lied about not going after Francis. Vaughn and Steve abduct Martha and give Francis an address to locate them as they depart. Francis fights Hopper, who arrives after the mobsters leave, but he escapes in the following scene. Francis follows Martha as she is transported to the Cardigan brothers' mansion to terrify her. Vaughn taunts Martha and smacks her a couple of times, but she remains unfazed moments after Francis arrives at the house, eliminating all of the assassins on his way. When he makes his way to Vaughn, the latter quickly grabs hold of Martha and orders our hero to kill Richie, revealing his treachery to his brother. However, Francis effortlessly rescues her and says that he's done with killing. He then leaves a gun between Vaughn and Richie, saying they should settle the matter themselves. The second Francis leaves the room, the brothers jump for their guns. They wrestle for a while, and Vaughn manages to grab it. He then kills his half-brother without remorse. In the meantime, as Francis tries to escape with Martha, he once again runs into Hopper and starts hustling with him. On the other hand, a hitman captures Martha and threatens to kill her, but to his surprise, she effortlessly swats him away thanks to the training Francis gave her earlier. After a while, the resilient Vaughn once again shows up to take revenge, but he too falls victim to Martha's exceptional fighting skills. Meanwhile, Hopper gains the upper hand in the fight and gets ready to shoot Francis. But right then, Steve arrives from behind and kills him. It appears that he has changed sides. Once again, grateful Francis tells him that Hopper is worth $5 million. After learning that Francis is dead, Steve celebrates, and the movie cuts to 2 months later, when we see the mercenary couple enjoying their best life in Vietnam, despite the knowledge that evil individuals are still chasing them, presumably to avenge Francis.